Okay, thank you very much for coming. My name is Benjamin Loring. I'm Associate Director at the Center for Eurasian, Russian, and East European Studies. And today we have a talk by CERES and Department of Slavic Languages Professor Ivana Sadovska on the construction of Russian ethnic identities in border regions. Professor Sadovska has taught at Georgetown since 2005 and brings over 15 years of experience in linguistics and cultural studies. She teaches Polish and Russian in the Slavic Languages Department. She also teaches Slavic literatures and film studies. She is the author of Polish, a comprehensive grammar published with Routledge in 2012 as part of its leading grammar series. Today, Professor Sadovska will discuss her summer project, where she conducted field research that looked at the social construction of Russian ethnic identities in border regions in Ukraine, Transnistria, Moldova, and Belarus. So without further ado, Professor Sadovska.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate this. And I see many of my students, Polish and Russian, so thanks so much. I hope to bridge the two cultures. What I would like to start with is from July 9th and to August 1st, these are the places that I visited. To show you this on the map, because some maybe would like to look at this, and I apologize, it's for a second. This is the map, and I know it looks a little like this. And the reason for that is that from time to time, my itinerary takes me to different places, because in the summer, traveling in Ukraine, it is actually difficult. Sometimes you go and you would like to buy a ticket, and then you are told, come tomorrow. I'm like, okay, I will try. Or like it happened in Simferopol, I was trying to go from Simferopol to Minsk, and I was thinking, I am going to fly over there, because flying would take a few hours, and taking a train, and this is what happened. I took the train, I had to take the train for 28 hours. And the reason for that is that going from Simferopol to Minsk, I would need to fly through Moscow. Unfortunately, I did not have visa to allow me to go one more time and cross the border to Russia, because I already did this when I crossed the border to Crimea. So I did have to take the train to Minsk. So as you can see, I just want to show you that these are the parts I started in on July 9th. I started in Lviv, Lvov, Lemberg. Beautiful, linguistically also a very nice riddle. And from Lviv, I went to Odessa. From Odessa, since I was so close to Moldova, I decided I'm also going to go to Moldova. From Moldova, I went to Tiraspol, which is Transnistria. From Transnistria, I went to Kiev. From Kiev, I went to Uman. From Uman, I went to Kharkiv. From Kharkiv, I went to Simferopol, and from Simferopol, I went to Minsk, and then from Minsk to Poland. So that was my trip from July 9th to August 1st. And how did it go? Let me show you. And then we can, thank you. And now I think I can use this. Perfect. So when I started in Lviv, of course, the first one is to welcome to Lviv, or witamy w Lwowie. However, the Polish population, of course, it's very low. But that was the first sign, and that really reminded me of something. I remember at the beginning of the year, I was flying to Chicago, and that was also, the first one is welcome to Chicago, and the other one was witamy w Chicago. And I was like, wow, this is interesting. In Lvov, I started feeling a little schizophrenic about Ukraine. And the reason why, you will see that it's already the symbols of the country. They are almost everywhere. And But people do not really feel that there is a conflict going on in the country. They discuss this, but it is, I felt that it was not a very heated debate. Until I went to the park and I started seeing older people, and they were all gathering and they were discussing what it is to be Ukrainian, why we cannot have our own country, independent country. And I thought that these discussions were so fascinating. And they were mostly attended by older people, and they were trying to figure out what it is to be Ukrainian, what it means, one country. But it was still until I came back to the hotel and I turned on the TV, and on the TV I started seeing all the scenes with the conflict going on. And I was thinking, how is that possible for a typical Ukrainian who lives in the country, and on one side you are on the street, you are discussing what it is to be a Ukrainian, and at the same time when you go home and you turn on TV, and there is a full conflict being described on TV. I got petrified. And for that reason, I decided in May that I am going to make that trip to Ukraine. That I thought that what I am being shown and presented and what I read maybe is not exactly the actual situation on the ground. So I asked CERES for help in my department, and they agreed, and I'm really grateful for that. This is one of the most informative and a little scary at times trips, but I loved it. So that was, and as you can see, the first one is of course the Crimea is still here as a Ukrainian part. This is something interesting. I told you that when I went to the park I bought this. Actually, I know that you might consider this that it's a symbol, it's something. But I thought you can buy this in the parks in Lviv. So I would like to have this for you and look at this. And this is how we also, I don't treat the language as something beautiful or not beautiful. I hope that no one is going to be offended because it's actually something that you can buy. So that, and here, Vytsirajcie nogi, it means wipe your feet. As you can see, this is the face of Yanukovych. This is the face of Yanukovych. This is the first time that also I started hearing those comments, oh, provocateurs. People were coming and they were actually arguing with the person selling that they are provocateurs, that it's not supposed to happen. And you are not supposed to sell these items. And so from there I went to Odessa. Odessa, I made this slide just to show that these are also accents, Polish, very nationalistic accents in Odessa. But I have a question to you. How many of you are familiar with what happened in Odessa at the beginning of May? So some of you. Do we have a lot of information about this here? Have you heard? Exactly, that's my point. That at the beginning of May, in Odessa, if anyone would like to chip in and add what happened, would you like to say?
Well, I have a little bit of a backstory because I have friends that were living there. But
Go.
I was basically there, and people are welcome to contribute because obviously I don't have the whole story, but there was some protesting.
Yes.
And it was at one of the buildings, and a fire broke out. I think.
Exactly.
And some people were caught inside and died and suffocated. But none of this was really conveyed in the Western media.
However, there were the two groups, the pro-Ukrainians and pro-Russians.
Correct.
And the people who were caught in the building and they died in the building, they were mostly pro-Russians. And according to different sources, you are going to get that 42 people died. I happened to speak to a nurse who was at the hospital that day, and she said it was at least 60 people that she noticed who died that night. So of course in Odessa, at this point, not many people wanted to really discuss with me what happened at the beginning of May. It was a film festival going on. You might imagine that the number of films and number of tourists, it was seriously limited. Not many people decided to go. When I was saying that I'm in Odessa, they were asking, why are you there? You don't understand what's happening. Russians are coming. So, but that was my friends from outside were telling me that, from the US, from Poland. So hopefully you will also notice that. There is a Russian flag, beautiful. So now, Mikołaj, you're going, when you get the card, look at the card. Did you see anything on this card?
Sky's red. Flag is changed.
Beautiful, the flag is changed. And what is the flag right now? So this one is the new picture. And so it's the Russian flag. And before? So what happened? We are just changing, also modifying art. And I thought that it was fascinating. So I asked, what happened? He said, oh, they came and they commissioned this painting and they asked to change the flag to the Russian one. And now it's going to be in one of the galleries in Tiraspol. I said, well, that's an interesting way also to influence and to change the identity.
History.
Or history, yes. This one I'm not feeling very comfortable about, and therefore I put the date, July 18. Maybe you remember July 17th, what happened. Exactly. And I'm already in Kamieniec-Podolski. I don't have to tell you, but it was really, really difficult to leave Chisinau, Moldova, and go to Ukraine. It was almost impossible. There was no connection between the two countries, like a train connection. I had to take a marshrutka, which means a teeny tiny bus, and then go to the border. From the border, people do not usually have a permit to cross the border. It was interesting, but I made it. So in Kamieniec-Podolski, I woke up to this, and I wasn't really comfortable about it. The next day, I also went and I bought the newspaper, and also it is here on the first page, so we can just look at this. So
have fireworks because of the plane going down?
Well, this is, I hope not. Of course not. I hope not. But it was not, I would think that everyone is going to...
Mourning.
Exactly. So I was really surprised seeing this.
But you didn't know what the occasion was?
No, and that is it's just in the middle of the night and I start seeing fireworks and I am completely shocked. And then I am in Kiev. In Kiev, what I would like you to see is the intersection between literature, religion, and politics. So this is Maidan, the main square, and Maidan, this is how it looked like in July. That was also an interesting part. When you want to enter Maidan, then you will you see a person who is just guarding, who is coming in and leaving. People are fighting. like Cossacks. Look at the way how the tents are being adjusted. It was such a bizarre and strange picture. Everything over there. The language. You are from Ukraine. You will see a lot of text emphasizing where you are from. And then maybe I will ask you a question. The independent and undivided Ukrainian European country, those signs, they were very much present on the streets of Kiev. Putin, fascist, ubийца, stop fascism w Rosji, so stop fascism in Russia. Putin is the fascist and the murderer, and comparing the trio. That was, do you see that there are bricks missing here? Do you know why? Go ahead. Yes, they were used in a protest as a type of weapon. So this is how it looked like. These are all the pictures that I took over the summer. Those signs and flags everywhere. That was also very interesting. It was on Maidan, and it was just a organically organized protest. And when people were singing that heroes do not die, герои не вымирают.
Would that be burying someone?
No, it was just to bring back, yes. Those signs, Stop Russia and Heroes Do Not Die. This is how you enter Maidan. Slava Ukraini, glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. So this is the main square, and on the main square you see those huge billboards. Taras Shevchenko, poet, Ukrainian poet, Slava Ukraini. These are the checkpoints where people can enter and leave Maidan. Again, the Hotel Ukraina, I happened to stay there one night, and because almost no one these days were really traveling to Ukraine, then I was happy to get a higher, better room, I was told. So that was wonderful. That's again, you will see, this is all from Maidan. Do you see the flags also that we are putting to support Ukraine? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, please go ahead. Yes. Z Bogom.
In the name of Christ, we do
With God. But there is an intersection. It's a very close ties that I started observing because of that conflict. That the literature, religion, and symbols, nationalistic symbols, they are all together, and to the extent, and it's so strong. This one, look at this for a second. So here we've got the tents where people voluntarily, they would like to stay here. I had a huge debate about Maidan. With some Ukrainians, and they were some pro, some were against. Some were telling me that, look what they did. It's a beautiful square, and they changed this beautiful square into this. And other people were telling me, but if we leave that fort, there's nothing else. We have to have this one place to start with, to show people that we are all together where we can gather. So And here in this point, I would like you to look also as Taras Shevchenko, which now he's on the close-up for that. So that was a very close ties that I started seeing between literature and history and the symbols from the country. This, I thought it was hilarious. And it's all over the city. Again, those symbols of Stop Россия, Stop Russia, and then I would like to show you this. So here is the embassy of Germany and England, and then we have this sign, Stronger Together. So, and the next sign, when I show you that, okay, if you can look at this for a second. Chrześcijaństwo nasza wiara, so Christianity is our faith. Ukraina nasza mati, Ukraine is our mother. Kyiv, nasz Jerusalem. Kiev is our Jerusalem. So how is this together with this next to each other? And this. That's what I started seeing. The country is divided, and it's not really the country. I already see all of that in one place.
You mean the architecture?
No, not the architecture. The idea behind which way are we going? It's almost like Sienkiewicz saying Quo Vadis, like where are we going? What are we doing?
I don't see the division though.
You don't see the division?
In this.
You don't see this as a very nationalistic and this not? How do you see it? Some of you maybe just saw it for the first time. How do you interpret this, Ola?
Well, to me it sounds like one, the very religious nationalistic thing is like we look inside the country and we draw the strength from ourselves. The other one is if we can attach ourselves to some sort of vision in countries outside ourselves, we can find the strength from outside ourselves to then bring in. So it's a question of where do you find your strength? Do we find it from within, or do we get closer to something that's without?
So something that could be imposed on us, or we just going to come from us? So I see this conflict within the country, and I started seeing this, and it's with the symbols, that they were absolutely everywhere. The whole city was in different, that was, I thought, just for your entertainment for a second. Of course, this happened in 2012, but it was changed to 2014, just to show the solidarity of Ukraine and Poland. So I thought that was.
What happened in 2000?
Oh, it was the European soccer tournament, and it was organized by Poland and Ukraine together. So now it is changed to 2014 to keep the.
Did you see anything change like that when you were in Poland at all? Because
No.
I remember when I was there, you could still buy the Euro 2012 things.
Yes, but not. It was not changed to 2014. But here, I thought it's just for entertainment at this point.
Of the industry, probably.
Right. Here's something but I would like you to look at this very critically. Before you watch this and before you make a judgment, this is the residence. This is pretty funny. Liczna jabania, ekskursji wchod 20 grivien. If you would like to go and have a tour in the sauna, the private sauna of the former president, you have to pay. In order for me to go from Maidan, and only teeny tiny marshrutki, the teeny tiny buses, they go from Maidan to the place, you also have to pay 160 to go there. Then, so I thought that right now it's an interesting way of making money.
What's the exchange rate?
Oh, it's 15?
13 now.
13? So now, oh, because dollar is going up. Yeah. So, before we go to Crimea, okay, so tell me, what do you think about this place? How do you interpret this, the residence of Yanukovych? Why? Why do we discuss this?
To show the level of corruption.
To show the level of corruption? Okay. What else? I would like you to go a second and go. What is the residence of the President of France? What kind of residence do the President of the United States have?
It's a state
Big
house, I guess.
They're powerful, they're opulent places.
Exactly.
But they belong to the country,
Not to the private.
So now this belongs to the people. And I thought it was for me it was absolutely interesting when I saw people taking care of the flowers here. And I'm saying, what are you doing? And they are like, oh, we will help as much as we can. This sentence, as much as we can, I'm like, why? Why would you say that, as much as we can? Who sponsors you? Why are you doing this? And they told me, well, we would like to have this right now as a park for all of us to come. I'm like, but it's not really for all of us to come. Because I had to pay 160 to come from Maidan to here. I had to pay the entrance, and if whatever I would like to see, I still have to pay. Where is the money going?
Probably for the maintenance of the...
These people were not paid. So now it's, I'm missing dots. So for you, all of you students, whatever you would like to investigate. So that was the residence of Yanukovych, but I am looking at this very critically as well, that this is a residence that, if I'm comparing to the President of France or President of the US, I remember before going on this trip, I was asked many times after the annexation of Crimea, so do you need a visa to go to Crimea? And I said, okay. I called the Ukrainian embassy and I said, I apologize for the question, but do I need a visa to go to Crimea? And I was told, no, of course not. Where are you going? I said, well, Lviv. Then from Lviv, go to the train station, hop on the train, take the train, buy a ticket, and you are going to be in Crimea. I'm like, thank you. Russian embassy, hello, do I need a visa to go to Crimea? Of course you need visa. And there were two completely different, opposite situations. And I thought, what is going on? And since the Ukrainian embassy is here in Georgetown, of course I went there, I walked and I knocked on the door and I said, tell me, do I need a visa to go to Crimea? And the young gentleman told me, well, you can go to Crimea, but you are not going to enter Crimea. Okay. So I do need visa to go to Crimea. I just told you, if you want to go to Crimea, you can go to Crimea, but you are not going to enter Crimea. I went to the Russian embassy and I applied for the visa. I got the visa, so this is the last point before being welcomed by the Russian chinovniki. So this is how I saw this. Welcome to Crimea. It was almost two sides of something that I caught on the camera. And here it starts. I come to Crimea and nothing works. But I started thinking, of course, it's a new country. Now it's a new country. It's been only a couple of months. So the infrastructure is not yet there. The bankomats, they are not working. As you can see, nothing works. This was absolutely hilarious. If you buy a ticket, the ticket, it is printed with the Kiev time. However, the trains leave and come according to the Moscow time. So people are just running back and forth. Where are my trains? What is going on? And it's explained. So everyone is just showing, here is the explanation. It goes, the trains are leaving according to the Moscow time. But the tickets are printed with the Kiev time. That's how I entered. But now it gets really interesting. Okay. These are the two first signs when I come to Crimea. And I will show you these two signs closer. The first one is Крымчане вместе с Россией. Crimeans are together with Russia. Those signs are everywhere. And again, Crimeans, the winning team, or the Команда победителей, the team of the winners. And of course, it's from Крым Единая Россия.
Is that the logo of the party?
Yeah. So this, again, I thought it was I couldn't really, but I had to take a picture to show you. The reason I'm showing you these pictures, it's in Crimea. I noticed, again, just like in Kiev, those symbols and the identity is almost imposed everywhere. Don't forget that you are and who you are. In Crimea, I saw the opposite. Don't forget who we are now and where we are from. It's even, look at this, it's like обмен валют, and you will see a teeny tiny, and I know that sometimes we don't really see those signs, but they are pretty important. The flags are Russian flags, and the Команда победителей, Крымчане, Команда победителей, that was absolutely everywhere. From the trip from Yalta to Tiraspol, it's about 45 minutes drive. I think I saw probably like 30 or 40 billboards of Команда победителей, Крымчане, they are the winning team. And they were with different groups, with different social groups to show you that we all are the winners here. Sorry that again, that's from Szkolniki. That also, it was interesting that I saw this, and it's from Partia Rodzina. Остановим безработицу, заставим чиновников работать для людей. So we will stop unemployment, we will force officials to work for the people. And again, those signs are everywhere. Like here, the beautiful, Crimean onion, I love them. And then the signs, of course, Crimeans, the winning team. This one I will show you in a second. Oh, I didn't take the battle. I have the battle and I forgot. That I'm looking for those signs for identity and how they influence our perception who we are almost everywhere. So here are the battles of wine. So I wanted to see if wine is so important also for this region. Look at this, this is the close-up. Ukraina, Krym, город Yalta. Ukraina, Crimea, the city of Yalta. Boom. That's a new one, sticker on every battle. Российская Федерация, Республика Крым, Russian Federation, the Republic of Crimea, город Yalta, the city of Yalta, and Massandra. On every battle. How important it is for me to emphasize who is now in charge of this part. But if I go for a second to this, I talk to many people, how they feel about being now a part of Russia. And do you have any sense? Do you think, share with me, one sentence, two, do you have any opinions about it? About Crimea now being in Russia? Do you think people are happy with the situation?
I don't think so. I heard from friends
Uh-huh.
who have friends
Mm-hmm.
who say that.
So this is what also I was going to Crimea and thinking that I'm going to hear what happened to us. And I start talking to young people and they are telling me, Ivana, imagine the situation. You are in the country where for 23 years people just come, take what they want, and they never invest. I'm like, what are you talking about? So this was the impression. This is not a seminar, so we can discuss this. I was under the impression that people felt that they were used in Crimea, the Crimeans. For so many years, the government, Ukrainian government, was just using this beautiful piece of land, not investing, and I saw it. It's run down. Crimea, and then Putin uses this situation, comes to Crimea. Immediately, he raises the pensions. The prices, the food also are going up. But at the same time, he shows some kind of that I am interested in this region. I want to do something here. Anyone would like to agree or disagree with me? What you heard?
That's why Maidan happened in the country, right?
So then I got
The country was mismanaged.
I started being confused again while I'm talking to people in Crimea.
So everyone you talked to was happy.
Almost everyone I talked to was happy.
Almost. So who wasn't happy?
Well, older people were not very happy because it's the prices, the reason that they were coming to Crimea for vacation, because it was cheaper. But
So basically sending Russians to do their job in terms of
let's watch and let's see. I'm sorry?
That was what was told to them.
Right.
All the propaganda that was pushed.
And that propaganda is present everywhere. So now I would like to see, maybe next year, go back and see what happened and how this changed. I'm sorry?
I know they'll give me a visa, but
Then I went to Kharkiv. And when I was leaving Kharkiv, it was the day when they closed the airport. So I was lucky enough to leave the Kharkiv. I met with the person from the OSCE, Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. And so I had a conversation about Kharkiv. Again, the intersection of, this is Taras Shevchenko, but someone was skilled enough to climb and dress him in the flag, in the Ukrainian flag. That was a usual picture. People were just gathering, walking with flags, dressed sometimes in the Ukrainian flags. And of course the police, they are also prepared because on Saturdays usually the two groups meet on the main square and they start discussing, debating the situation. So that was the usual case in Kharkiv. Any questions, comments?
In Kharkiv more for Russia? Were there Russian guys there too?
No.
Apparently not.
So again, I'm confused. After this trip, I was confused, which is probably a good thing.
itself is very young.
It's
There are
so
a lot of
young.
Universities, so it's very, in that regard, it tends to be a little, it's very divided, but it tends to be very progressive.
Yes, and it was such a nice surprise. I have to tell you, I thought Kharkiv, and everyone is telling me that it's going to be tense and dense, and it was light. It was beautiful, so vibrant, with a lot of people, young people, and they all wanted, and they were ready to discuss politics. So if you were thinking about going, I think it's probably also it's an interesting point, interesting city. To do your research. And then from there I went to Minsk. The biggest surprise, I have to tell you. Of course, it's my personal opinion. The biggest surprise because everyone is telling me that Minsk, it's going to be very Soviet-like. And would you expect in Minsk to see a lot of symbols, nationalistic symbols everywhere? I put this just to mess with you a little. Would you? From everything that you know, of course, we don't have a representation in Minsk. So yes? Okay, so I took the pictures just to show you. These are the pictures of Minsk. Just random. I was just walking and I have more of them. I apologize, it was some kind of survey that I'm trying to show you. Still many more to go through. Do you see any symbols, nationalistic symbols? And this is what I was totally surprised. Because I could not see, finally I saw a building and it was a flag, Belarusian flag. I'm like, oh, finally. And yes, it is, because it is the Ministry of Internal Affairs. So yes, there is going to be a flag over there. But other than that, I was really surprised. I could not see that there were not the small kiosk with any kind of symbols that I could. The only thing that I could see, it was the bookstore, and that's why I took a picture of this, and nothing else. There were not teeny tiny kiosks with any kind of symbols. I found the people in Minsk behaving very orderly. Actually, when there was a red light, I decided to cross the street just to show them that it is possible to do it. And no one was screaming at me, they were just looking at me, but I did this many times actually just to see what's the reaction. And no, everyone was just, okay, go. But no one would follow. And it was such a beautiful and clean city. And then I started thinking how much we know about Minsk. Or how much we don't know about Minsk. And I'm not really sure if also not having our embassy over there helps us. So, and yes, because of these two things that I saw, I'm like, okay, this is the only thing that I see. It's the exhibition, the back to the BSSR. Snova. Again, we are in the Republic, Belarusian Republic of Soviet. Yes, Soviet Republic. But it was just an exhibition, and that was the only symbol that I saw. Everything else is exactly when I showed you, and I was seriously, that was my biggest surprise. So, if you know how to organize an interview with the president of Belarus, I would love to do that, because I would like to ask him how he did that. The signs, I love Belarus, I would see everywhere. Buy the Belarusian products, I would see that everywhere. And you know that sometimes like you go in some places and you would see only the facade being nicely renovated, and then you go inside and it's a completely different story. So of course I did that too. I went to different parks and garages, and I couldn't find anything. And then I need to go back. Hola.
Do you think that has something to do with perhaps like in the other areas where you were, that's a place where the identity would be so contested, and then here maybe it's just a given, you don't need to prove yourself constantly?
That's what I'm turning to that. You don't have to prove anything.
The other signs, the reason why they're there is because we don't know who we are, so we have to try to promote something. But here,
no,
I mean, it is
we know who we are.
We're locked into this, and so we don't need to
Absolutely.
keep proving it over and over and over.
Absolutely. So,
I wouldn't say they don't know who they are. It's just they're trying to destroy the stereotype that was imposed on them through centuries, and they are kind of trying to identify themselves as they are and as they feel. Whereas in Belarus, it's a totally different political area. Belarus is pretty much Russian-oriented, and the politics they are following is quite remarkable, not confronting Russia too much and also doing some of their own business. And therefore, propaganda is less there. Yeah.
The political control is also stronger there.
Yeah.
It's just that, like, so since there isn't a space for anyone to express views that are opposing to it, the government doesn't have to constantly remind people that, we are.
but you would not expect this, right? From what we've heard so far, of what you have heard, maybe. Yeah, Luis?
I read something that following the annexation of Crimea and in the midst of the beginning of the Ukraine crisis, I saw an article that said Lukashenko gives a speech in Belarusian, which is like very odd. He's been ruling Belarus since it became independent, and he only speaks in Russian. And most people in Belarus also speak Russian, but he used this one moment as to like signify to the Russians, signal out to them, it's like, we're not always going to be submitting to what your language is, and I can still come out and speak in Belarusian when I need to. It's like while his like main identity, or like the main culture that he uses is Russian in his speaking and his communication,
And here
there
he
is
uses
still the Belarusian beneath that can still come out at some point.
So that was from Minsk. I just went to Poland, and then I started seeing again the symbols, Polish flags everywhere. But that was my trip. I know that it is not there. That's a lot of places, and maybe not that much time. But at the same time, usually I was 2 or 3 nights in one place. And I know that probably you need more time to have a better idea what is happening. But at the same time, I think that if you are surrounded by people, and this is what I try to do while I travel. I don't sit in one place and wait for someone to come to me. I just go and ask people and talk to them. I spoke Russian everywhere. So that's also another thing. I was using the American passport. In Belarus, I was using the Polish passport, and because I wanted to see the reaction. And so that was the trip. If you have any questions, I hope that you will be able to go to all those places, and maybe we can compare the notes. I think if Tiraspol, if this is something you would like to go, Transnistria, that was such a fascinating piece of land. Minsk, I think, definitely requires, and Belarus requires more questions. And as I said, hopefully there will be on my schedule sometimes there will be the interview with the president. I really would love to do that. I think that would be fascinating, talking to this man. Do you have any questions? Thank you. No questions? Okay, Luis.
Did people ever come up to you when you were in Crimea without you advertising yourself, coming up to you like, what are you doing here?
The only country that this happened, it was Chisinau, Moldova. And only to tell me, what are you doing here? You should not be by yourself on the streets. Most of this trip, I did this by myself. There was only a part when I was going to Kharkiv and my husband said, nope, you are not going by yourself. So I'm going to join you. But most of this trip I did by myself, and that was only Chisinau that I felt very uncomfortable. And I was told, leave the streets. You should not be here, and you should not be alone. Other than that, I felt very safe. And then there was in Simferopol when I was nicely resting and recharging my phone, because you can imagine that I'm constantly just working on logistics, working on my phone, where I'm going to stay and how I'm going to get from one place to another. And sometimes the trains do not work the exactly way, or it's bad. And when I mentioned in Kharkiv, when they closed the airport, it was almost impossible. Everyone now is traveling and trying to go to Kiev through Simferopol. I'm like, what are you people doing here? It's because the airport in Kharkiv was closed, and everyone started just moving and trying to get home. It was fascinating. It was absolutely wonderful. And talking to all of these people, sometimes it's a Platzkarta. You know what Platzkarta is? It's a train when you have 48 people in one big area. So 28 hours, imagine here. Everyone wants to talk to you. So that was absolutely fascinating. If you are thinking about doing a trip and doing this kind of research, I seriously encourage you. Okay. Thank you. Yes? Any other questions?
Why was the airport closed in Kharkiv?
It was because of the security that they just closed it. Just like in Simferopol, they closed because there was, I was told that there is a bomb and we had to evacuate. And I remember I was talking to my mother on the phone, and she just told me, oh, you know what, I'm so happy you're already on the way to Minsk, because I was told that in Simferopol there was a bomb and there's evacuation. I'm like, uh-huh. So of course I don't want to, everything was fine. It's all, I was very safe. Nothing happened.
Did you have a chance to talk to people who happened to be in the battle areas?
Only I met people in Odessa who were vacationing in Odessa from Donetsk, from Lugansk. Young people in Crimea, they moved from Donetsk, because he told me, this young fellow, he said, I just left because I don't want to fight against my parents. And if he's drafted to the army, he's going to work against, and he's going to fight against his parents. So he immediately moved to Crimea and he started working there.
His parents were pro-Ukrainians or pro-Russian?
Well, his parents are Russians. So, and he would be drafted in the Ukrainian army. And once he started seeing this, so I want you to think about it. You're all the same age as almost all the people that I talk to. Different decisions, different ideas, different perspectives. So period.
Do you think these people should be left alone?
Oh, I think it's a very, very difficult question. I think we have to look at different, well, it's also going to happen on 28 October, right? That we're going to have a parliamentary election in Ukraine. So we will see what's happening. But it's a very difficult question. Do you have a question? Natalia? And
Oh, sorry. Just a quick one. Are you sure? Yeah.
what is your name?
I'm Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
Yeah. Just a quick question. Have you been to Ukraine prior to this?
No, and this is exactly, it's just when everything started happening in Ukraine, then I said, well, I'm going. So it will be very fresh for me. However, my husband, who was in Kiev 17 years ago, he said, Ivana, it looks completely like it was when I was there. And I just said, well, so what happened? Like, no one is investing? And there are some parts of the city that's completely the same.
And did you think that identities were the same?
No, that it was not. That's what I'm seeing right now in Kiev. That the intersection between religion, literature, and the symbols, it's just so strong. And I'm not really sure if that would happen if we did not have prior. If they did not have to, if the Ukrainians did not have to prove who they are, those signs "Ty із України," like.
I would add to this poster about religion. I think it's not only it refers to the unity of Ukrainian and Russian church rather than something else.
Could be, absolutely, could be.
I mean, Russian or Orthodox Church is based on Kievskaya Rus and Vladimir making the country Christian. And if Ukraine will be independent, then the Kievskaya Rus and the autocephaly of the church should and will probably stay with Kiev, although Patriarch is in Moscow.
So it's just like the trains in Crimea.
That's kind of conflicting situation. That's I think this poster was kind of emphasizing that it's Kievskaya Rus and Kiev.
Louise? But I'm sorry, Natalia?
Yeah, sure. I just had a question about when you would talk to people, especially in Ukraine, the pro-Ukrainian side. What are the perceptions of like who's on their side, so to speak, and who are the allies? Did they recognize like when you told them you were from Poland, you're from the United States? Did they recognize that there's some sort of solidarity and like Ukraine, like for Ukraine, or like do they see that they have any allies at all?
I didn't actually. No, it's a good question. No, I have not seen that. It's like for we.
So they don't feel like.
I have not felt that I am with them or I'm against them or anything like that. It's like one identity, we, which is also phenomenal.
Yeah,
it's an interesting.
But they, on the other hand, do they feel abandoned, so to speak? Like, so not really.
You see for me, this trip, it was not exactly to go to the depth of all of that. I really wanted to go to different parts and see and have a feeling what is happening. It's not a very scientific seminar as well, but it's just I'm hoping that once you see this, my student, and you would like to go back and maybe do a little more research, the field work is fascinating. Use the language and go. Okay, thanks so much. Awesome. That's it.